What's going on, everybody? It's the Realest Idealist, and today we have a very special collaboration video with Asiya from Free Your Mind to Shine. It's a pretty lengthy video, but that's only because we wanted to make sure that we provide you with the best information and the best tools that you could use on your journey starting today, here and now, to protecting yourself and protecting your energy from negative people, toxic people, and all energy vampires. So stay tuned. All right, what's up, everybody? So today I have a special guest with me, Asiya from Free Your Mind to Shine. So Asiya, tell us who you are, what it is that you do, and why do you have this knowledge and experience when it comes to energy draining people and energy vampires?
Okay, well, thank you for having me, Curtis. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching. My name is Asiya, and I am someone that does human design readings. So I look into DNA genetic blueprints of different individuals, and I provide services to help people understand their genetics and their mechanics when it comes to knowing how to move and operate within this matrix and this world that we live in. And one of the things that I've personally learned in my journey and understanding more about my human design and the human design of other people is how to connect with different individuals and how to identify what people are harmonious when it comes to our energy and what people are not harmonious and can cause us to be more drained or more depleted in our personal life force energy.
So how would you identify a person or point out and recognize a person that is a person that could be energy draining or an energy vampire, as we call it? How could you identify these people just so we could be more aware to who to protect our energy from?
Okay, well, one of the first things that I've learned is how to listen to my body's intelligence and listen to my inner guidance, because you may not be able to know a person's blueprint every time you meet someone. You may not know that information off top. So it's important that, you learn how to listen to the different signals that your body gives you to let you know that, you should either move towards a person or, not move or move away from them. And there are many different subtle energies that that our body experiences and feels to let us know that, okay, there's something about this person that may cause you some type of pain, or that may cause something that ends up depleting or draining your energy. So when it comes to the initial identification of those types of people, it's important that you're in tune with yourself and you learn how to be able to trust in yourself first and foremost and listen to those different signals that your body gives you to let you know. And also, it depends on, what setting you're in, because you may not be in a setting to where you can really analyze something about a person more than just like a surface level situation. You may be outside somewhere and you just are only able to see this person based on how they're dressed, and they may just be standing there and you can't really see anything past that. Or you may be in a more intimate setting with that person, maybe at some type of gathering, and you're watching them interact with other people, and that can give you more information on how that person may be, further down the line when it comes to if there's someone who will drain your energy or not. So it's really important for you as the individual to consider all of these different aspects when it comes to connecting with people, to know if someone is potentially going to be a harm to your energy, or someone that's going to be a person that enhances your energy.
How would you explain, especially for the people who may not be so just naturally in tune with this, how can a person what is the experience to be like to have someone be an energy draining person around you? Like, what is that experience was like? Like, from a person explaining to a person who probably wasn't aware of this, how would you explain from like your experience that if you could really like know for sure?
Well, what I've learned within myself is that I'm the clearest when I'm alone. When I'm in my own space, that's when I have the most clarity about what is correct for me and what's, what feels good to me. So I always start there. I start with being anchored within my own energy field and my own reality. And then from there, when I think about or reflect on different individuals that I've connected with, if I have been pulled out of that energy of feeling good when I'm by myself through being around this person or, certain individuals, that lets me know that there is something that is imbalance between my energy and that person's energy. And sometimes, and I've seen this a lot just in studying different genetic blueprints, sometimes another person's genetic makeup can actually be very dominating and overpowering to yours, to where you may just really be snatched out of your reality and not even realize it. So you may connect with someone and not realize that you're being drained until way later on down the line, because you get pulled into their energy because it's the dominant energy, and then you're wrapped up in their world and you don't even realize that you have been neglecting yourself, or that you no longer are doing the things that, feel good to you when you're in your own space. Sometimes it can just really like warp your way of seeing things and blind you. So it's so many different combinations of, energy draining connections, whether it's partnerships or friendships or whatever, that I've seen, that, it really does depend on the individual. But one of the main things is, for a person who may be getting drained by someone and they don't recognize it, are you happy in life? Like, overall, like when it comes to you experiencing more satisfaction versus frustration, like out of those two, what do you experience more? If you're more frustrated or more sad or more depressed or have more stress and anxiety than you do feeling good about yourself, then that's a clear indication to really look at, well, how much time do you get to yourself to just get into your own energy? And how much time are you spending with other people? And now look at the different individuals that you're spending time with, and really look at what are the activities going on? How is the conversation? What is the energy that's being exchanged? Because when you start to look at it from those different layers, you can, if you take a moment to do that, you can easily see where there are issues and where your energy is being snatched by other individuals.
Okay, so one thing, every time we have a conversation, I always realize how you, I don't know, just how you explain things, I see it in such a universal, broad sense. And the way how you break things down, I see it in ways like I've never seen before. So for instance, what you're talking about, like the dominant energy and kind of being pulled out of your reality into theirs, like I'm kind of like visualizing, like on the astrological level, like two planets and like one get caught in the other's orbit, and then all of a sudden it's just like you're not in your own orbit anymore. So I could definitely see how certain like dysfunctional relationships could kind of take that course and that type of role of an energy drain, a person, energy vampire, and the person kind of being pulled out of their world into that and not really realizing it until it's too late, to some big issue happen or till reality just smacks them in the face and kind of wakes them up. But also, you said something that exactly that I was going to expand on too, as far as like I always say, it's very important on your spiritual journey to make sure you go within and make sure you have that alone time so you can know thyself. And like you said, knowing thyself, knowing who you are and how your energy is, like at home base, like that's who you truly are. Like that's you merging with your infiniteness. So when you spend time around other people, and if there's an imbalance, well, at least you know when you're by yourself, when you're going within, you are more closer to who you truly are, you know? But there's a lot of people in this world who kind of sometimes don't like to be alone. They don't spend any time alone, and they could just be, they don't know who they are. And if you don't know who you are, you could easily be wrapped up into other people's worlds and what they got going on, and have them kind of somewhat have control over you just because you don't know who you are. You're not deeply, you have that deep foundation within yourself and your inner knowing. So I like how you pretty much painted that picture in that type of way. But in this day and age, you know, I see a lot of evolution, you know, in a lot of different ways. And it may not always be like in the conscious way, but I do see certain things. And I see like in this day and age, people, from what I noticed, it seems like people are a lot more bolder now than they were like when I was younger growing up. But in that sense, being that people kind of, whether if it's false identity ego or whether if it's true, people who know who they are, whether it's just on the ego level on the surface or on the deep soul level. A person saying something like, well, I've done a good job protecting myself so far. Why should I know how to protect myself on the energetic level? Like, why would a person need to know how to protect themselves on this type of level instead of just on a purely physical surface level? Like, what's the benefit of knowing how to protect yourself in this type of way from these people?
Well, when it comes to physical and energetic protection, they go hand in hand from my perspective. You know, physically, I guess I can't really see how a person can truly be physically protected if they're not starting energetically. So a person that would claim that they're, you know, that they're physically protected, but they don't have the awareness of energetic protection, something has like kind of got into their system and they're probably just not aware of it, you know, because like a person can have like all of the physical protection and boundaries around them, but that doesn't mean that, you know, cancer hasn't, you know, invaded their body, or, you know, just even negative thought patterns that cause them to, you know, always be angry within their physically protected environment. You know what I'm saying? It's like there has to be some level of awareness for energetic protection if you're going to truly be physically protected, because it starts in the energetic realm before it even gets into the physical realm. So yeah, you know, we hear about different people who, you know, have, you know, never been robbed or never been, you know, physically hurt from the outside, but, you know, they still end up getting, you know, diseases and, you know, have internal health issues because those energy bodies were not tended to, you know, that energetic field was not really taken care of properly because of the lack of awareness, or, you know, even just not even wanting to believe that that's something that needs to be taken care of. So yeah, if the energetic protection is not there, there's just no way that you can't see it play out in some type of negative way physically.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. You know, I feel like, and I always say like how things always manifest from the spiritual, from the unseen first, from within first, you know? So for the people who may be a little bit more like focused in this physical dimension, right? Saying things like, well, I feel like I'm physically protected, or I feel safe in my environment, but at the same time, looking at it beyond just the 3D aspect. And as far as like you said, like you could be physically protected all you want, but that cancer could still slip in. So when it comes to mental aspects and your thought process and your decisions that you make, and where is that stemming from, like how you kind of mentioned. So there's a lot of things that could kind of affect you on the back end that may not be, because when people hear like protection, they think of, I feel like for the most part, a physical thing, like self-defense and maybe verbal through arguments and stuff, but it's not always so direct in your face. Sometimes a lot of things come through in the back end. Sometimes it come through influence. You know, you could be influenced to do certain things, and that could be a toxic symptom from a toxic relationship. You know, I've seen this a lot of times in many people, just by the people that they hang with, they develop certain qualities and traits that they don't always notice within themselves. And then they start to reflect these things. And then the more and more that they do these things, you know, the world responds to it. And then certain things happen to them. And then it's like a snowball effect. And the next thing you know, they're in too deep once again. But how would a person know when it is time to start exercising their energetic protection rights from another person? Like when is the right time to be like, okay, I gotta distance myself from this person, or I have to make sure I keep a closer awareness to this situation?
Everyone definitely has different cycles and different timings, because even the way that I learn my lessons through making mistakes and through trial and error, you know, sometimes it may take me 3 times to recognize I need to start doing this or stop doing that. For another person, they may do it literally 1,000 times before it finally hits them, or they may just really be so stuck in a pattern to where they continuously do it, and it never clicks that they need to stop doing it. So or they need to start doing something. So it's really different for each individual. But again, the indication that I can say is true for me and for many other people that I've connected with is when your body gets to the point to where it's so resistant to dealing with certain people or certain situations that are continuously causing negative responses or continuously causing low vibrational frequencies, it gets unbearable. And for me, my level of awareness makes it to where the way that I feel either stupid or I feel like I'm going to die. Like that's how intense, you know, things get for me when I see that, okay, I need to stop doing this or I need to start doing that. It hits me as like a very strong frequency of stupidity or death, you know, and that's just the way it comes for me. For, you know, for other people, it may take for somebody, you know, to die. You know what I'm saying? It may take for somebody to get seriously injured. It may take for, you know, something very drastic to happen in that person's reality for it to kind of like shock them out of, you know, being stuck in that pattern, because everyone has different like layers of rock that's keeping them from like breaking through to the core of that freedom of doing what's best for them. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I may have, you know, 8 layers that, you know, where I need to continuously like bump up against the wall and break those layers 8 different times before it finally hits me that, oh, I have to stop doing this. Somebody else may have 27 layers, you know, and it's going to take them longer. So, you know, and then other people just need one time. They see it happen one time. They're like, oh, I'm never doing that again. You know, so it's really the individual, but your body for everyone, I do know that the body is intelligent enough to always give some type of signal, even if it's a very faint signal. It could be a whisper, or it could be like a blaring alarm, but there is something going off in your body letting you know that if you continue to move in this direction, you're going to kill me. That's what the body's saying in its own way. So, yeah.
I like what you say with the layers, because I feel like, me personally, I feel like I have like a half a layer, because it's like naturally, I always say, like, naturally I'm very defensive. I'm defensive naturally, so it's like I'm always kind of responding to certain things, and the energy, especially on my awakening journey, I became way more sensitive to it. So it's like I could almost like spot it a mile away, just like certain energy that I know that I'm resonant to and that I'm not resonant to. So it comes easy for me. Like, my whole life has been natural, but especially now that I'm aware of it, it's like a radar. It's like I can't turn it off, you know? But with me being so defensive, you know, as I mature into, you know, my just my journey, I realized that sometimes I've become better at distinguishing the difference between what I'm naturally resonant with, you know, with my soul and who I am as a person, as a human being, and what's coming from the ego. You know, sometimes we get offended on the ego level, and having a certain awareness, I know, like, okay, I know this is coming from the ego, so it's something that I have to adjust within me, in comparison to, I'm just not resonant with this person and this energy. Like, there's a certain difference, and it's a subtle difference, but I feel like people, especially who may be defensive like me, just to really know what the difference is. Because sometimes, you know, our ego can still get offended in certain ways, and sometimes it's kind of justifiable, and other times it's just some type of blockage, just like we might have to heal or just move past, you know. But being that you work in, you know, human design, and you have many clients and you help the many people on their journey of all different walks of life, all different angles. I know you study a bunch of different people, like certain celebrities, and you see certain things about them. You see how things add up and how their life is playing out and how their genetic makeup is and everything. So for the people that may be energy vampires, so to speak, as we call them, or energy drainers, toxic people in general, why would someone ever really have it in them to try to manipulate others? Like, what drives people to do that?
What I see and what I've seen over and over and over again, it really starts with the parental conditioning. It starts with the childhood, because in me studying children and just studying, you know, the different stages that everyone goes through, you know, from childhood into adulthood, children, we learn early how to be manipulative because we come into the world being completely dependent on those that brought us into the world, which is our parents. And we don't come in with the understanding that, you know, we should share or that we should be considerate, you know, like children, that's not how children have to be taught those things. So many children are brought into toxic environments. It's rare that you find any adult that can say that they were not raised, you know, in a toxic environment. It's almost, you know, non-existent. So we all come into the world as children that just feel like, hey, you know, it's because of you that I'm here, so give me. And because of the stresses that the parents are going through, plus their own childhood issues that they probably never cleared before they had their own children, the children are coming into that orbit, you know, they're coming into the orbit of their parents, and they're wrapped up in all of the layers of their parents' stuff, you know, from their childhood. And the child is literally like being saturated in all of that, in years upon years of stuff and toxicity and all of these things that are molding and forming the child to learn how to navigate based on manipulation, based on, you know, learning how to, you know, whether it's cry or whine or, you know, act out and, you know, have tantrums or, you know, whatever. The children are learning how to do these things for the purposes of getting what they want, you know, from the parents. And it's not like a good or bad type of thing. It's really a survival thing, because a child is knowing that, hey, you know, you owe me. You brought me here. You owe me my candy, or I want to watch this television show or whatever. So if you don't have parents that are aware of these things, then there's no way for them to recognize these behaviors in the child to say, oh, my child is really becoming, you know, manipulative, and even is moving into the line of narcissism. I see a lot of children that are, I mean, if somebody doesn't stop them, they're going to be full-blown narcissists by the time that they're teenagers. So, you know, it's the awareness and the healing hasn't happened with the adults to even put a stop to, you know, what is continuing through the child as the child grows. So, you know, you have children that learn first how to operate in these manipulative, energy draining ways with the parents. So it's not like it's going to stop when they start making friends, or when they have their first boyfriend or girlfriend, or when they get married, or when they have their own children. It's just going to continue, but it's going to be is going to be more refined as they get older. The manipulation, the things that they learn from growing up and having more experiences as they get older with other people, watching things on television, watching things on social media. All of these things are just adding on to them consistently refining manipulation and energy draining tactics. And it's not even looked at by the individual as I'm being an energy drainer. This is just something that I know because it happened. It started happening so early with my parents, and nobody ever stopped me. Nobody ever corrected me. So it's a lot of people who, you know, could be classified as energy draining vampires or whatever, and they really don't have any idea that they are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I personally always see how the most negative people, if you go up to them and be like, explain to them how negative they're being, they'll be like, what are you talking about? No, like they clearly don't see it. And like some of them genuinely don't see it, but they could be the most negative peoples in the world. Like it's out of control. Yeah. So, and I'm glad you brought that up. So speaking upon that, how could we break that cycle? So for the people who are old enough to have the mental maturity to look at themselves and know what they're doing, how could they become aware and break that cycle? And how could the parents break that cycle as far as not allowing or not guiding their children to be so manipulative in that sort of way?
Well, in a lot of situations that I see, where I see children kind of going down that more negative path, it's up to the parents first to recognize that the smallest things that they may do, or the things that they may neglect during this particular time of that child's process, they need to understand how that can create, you know, a lifelong adult, you know, who will be continuously operating in that energy. So it begins with the parents wanting to admit that they didn't know certain things, or that they neglected their child in ways that they would have never looked at as neglect. You know, like for instance, there are a lot of parents that are recognizing that telling their child to go watch television is a form of neglect, because you're basically saying, even though it's my responsibility as a parent to instill values and morals and, you know, raise you to be a self-sustaining adult who, you know, who understands many different aspects of life, I'm neglecting you and telling you to go learn from this object that is just blaring all types of programs into your consciousness that I'm not even aware of. So, you know, you're basically pushing your child away to go get programmed by something, and then you're trying to figure out why your child is acting, you know, crazy later on. You know, and the parents don't, because the parents don't know, and, you know, a lot of people have a lot of pride. They don't want to say that they messed up. They don't want to say that they were not aware of how deep, you know, the programming is, especially in the subconscious. You know, it's embarrassing, you know, for a lot of people to admit those things, especially parents. But you have to get past that, because you have to recognize that this is going to affect more than just your child, because your child is going to take these things and start to spread that frequency to other people, you know, and eventually it's just gonna continuously create, you know, a bigger tree of issues as it spreads out. So for me, like, I can't help but to always like look at a problem and then go as far to the root as I possibly can, and then try to work my way up through the layers to see how to find solutions to things. But, you know, a big issue is that the older people get, the harder it is for them to break those patterns. But then there are also people that the older they get, the more they get so hardened to where they do want to break the patterns. So I've seen both sides. I've seen people that are like, hey, I'm, you know, 40 something, 50 something years old. Hey, I am who I am. I'm not changing. Leave me alone. And then you have people that get to that age range and they're like, I'm tired. Like, I just want to break free of everything. So again, it's really the individual and them seeing, you know, looking within themselves and then looking at their offspring and saying, wow, you know, I really have to do something, because I can't protect them. You know, like I created them, and, you know, I'm recognizing that my lack of knowledge and awareness was neglectful. And they're just a product of me not knowing certain things. And either I can do my best to help them and instill certain things in them now, or, you know, just let it play out however it's going to play out. So again, it's back to the individual and how they feel about certain things, especially when it comes to their children.
Yeah, like just the one thing that you mentioned with like sending their kids off to go watch TV, like go watch TV, like having the television kind of raise them and give them the morals and the lessons and the values. And it could be anything. Like I remember there's a lot of crazy stuff on TV. There's a lot. Well, I feel like even this day and age, you know, I don't like to point out the bad. I don't think that the world is moving in a bad direction per se. Some aspects is, but some aspects also is getting better. But I just see like how on the internet, so many kids just being free on the internet. Like that's even worse, because there's limits on TV. There's certain things that they just can't show on TV, but the internet is you can see anything, and it's like it's crazy because I stumbled upon some crazy stuff in the realm where kids would be at. And I'm like, why is this here? Like,
Yes.
So it's like not really monitoring your kids and seeing just certain things. You like, the internet's crazy. It's like the wild, wild west on the internet. You know what I'm saying? There's almost like no rules. You know what I'm saying? But speaking of the internet seems to be like a global hangout for these low energy draining, toxic energy vampire people. You know what I'm saying? And I have a few experiences with these people. You know, I don't necessarily attract them to me like that, but every once in a while I do come across a few of them. But me personally, just the type of person that I am, me being, you know, naturally kind of defensive and naturally attuned to like justice. I love justice. I want justice to be served for the people that deserve it. That's why I love karma, you know. I love karma. And people learning what they need to learn, you know what I'm saying? But saying all this, like, I feel like when I come across these people, there's a bunch of different ways how I kind of handle it, you know? There might be a situation where I just treat it purely off of, like, just depending on what type of vibe I'm in, how it happens. Sometimes I treat off of pure unconditional love, where I tell them, like, look, I'm not gonna let your energy bring me down. I'm cool. I understand what you're doing. It's not gonna work. So peace, have a nice day. And keep it cordial like that. And sometimes I might face them head on in what they're doing and let them know, like, either way, it's like I love to stand up for myself. And I feel like sometimes when it comes to people who are a little bit more conscious of what they're doing and a little bit more manipulative, people like to prey on certain types of people, right? So I feel like when people would see a person that's speaking about love and light and things of that nature and the spirituality and being one, they look at that as kind of being a weakness. But one thing that I kind of love is when people kind of approach me thinking that I'm on that type of level, the way how I could defend myself in a way where it's like, I know what you're about, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that kind of throws people off too. But in what type of ways do you kind of defend yourself when it comes to these people? And what type of ways are there to protect yourself? Because I know there's quite a few ways, but like, how do you necessarily do it? And how would you recommend other people in certain ways how they could kind of protect themselves, or to pretty much not be in the way, not in the way, but not be in the path of their attack, I should say?
Okay. I'm thinking about like several situations that I've been in. Some have been in person, some have been over the internet. I rarely get like trolls or like people that, you know, come for me with the negativity on the internet. Yeah. But when I do, my body is, you know, very, very good at like letting me know what the energy is like. Even if a person tries to mask what they're really saying with a positive looking statement, the way my energy body like filters through it and like really hears and feels what is really going on behind that statement. A lot of times I don't respond, because I quickly like analyze the different ways in which I could, you know, like play this situation out, you know, whether I didn't respond or, you know, if I did respond in this way or that way. And what I've noticed is that, you know, my mind is always busy, but if my body doesn't move, then that's all that matters. And a lot of times my body just doesn't move. And I trust that, because if I allow my mind to, you know, think, if I allow my mind to, because it's going to think, it's going to do whatever it does. But if I allow my mind to pull me out of that stillness, I'm going to regret it. I do know that. And I'm going to feel like, why did I waste my energy on that? Or, you know, why did I do that? And when it comes to in-person situations, that's different, because you're literally like physically being pulled by that person's energy field. And, you know, you made me think about the car accident that happened last week. And, man, that was, I really kept it together. Like I really kept it together, but I was, it was not pleasant. It was not pleasant being in that energy field, because, you know, the guy that hit me, he was intoxicated. And then, you know, there was a guy who was watching from the bus stop who came and placed himself in the situation. And he actually, like, it was very interesting. Like, if I looked at that as like a movie scene, the role that this man from the bus stop played, it was like he was like playing the devil's advocate. You know, it's like he first, you know, came to me to see if I was okay, but then he like kind of teamed up with the intoxicated dude that hit me, and then he started saying things to me that were pretty much trying to chop me down, because the intoxicated dude was trying to make me the blame for why he rammed into me at a light. You know, it was just very interesting. But because of, you know, I guess the things that I've been studying with human design and understanding, understanding even patriarchy, I could see how patriarchy and narcissism was actually playing out in that situation. So my awareness of it allowed me to keep my body from like erupting in that frequency that they were attempting to get me on, and just kind of laugh it out, because it was some moments of intensity in that situation, to where it was like I could feel you all are really, you want me to lose it. You want me to look like the crazy lady, you know, and y'all are just standing here teamed up against me as men. And it was a different scenario, you know, as opposed to like a situation on the internet. But everything comes with experiences, and it comes with, you know, your awareness. And I knew that at the end of the day, I did not want to, you know, deal with any police in that situation. I wanted to go home. And even through all of that, all I could see was this man probably has a family. And come to find out, he does. He has a young son and a wife. So my intuition picked up on, you know, I don't really, even though I could get him in a lot of trouble, I still don't want to, because it would be more draining overall, because, you know, when you involve the police, and it's just a lot more. And it's like, when you really start to get grounded in yourself and your energy, sometimes, you know, like the whole, like how you spoke about justice and karma, it has to happen. Like there has to be like a return on that energy that took place in that accident for him. For me, you know, I'm cleared. You know, I've gotten, you know, my car fixed, you know, like I've gotten what I needed from that situation, but there's something that has to happen on his end for that energy that he put out to create that situation. So I totally understand the whole like wanting to be that person that, you know, makes that person get that justice. I know that very well, but I've learned how to trust and to know that it's going to happen with or without me. So let me just continue about my business and, you know, keep it moving.
And a lot of the times people be like looking for karma in the external ways, like for someone to actually physically deliver it, or to life to obviously hit them with a situation. But sometimes they just do it to themselves slowly, you know? Like if he didn't learn any type of lesson that night, that way of going about living his life and the certain decisions that he makes, he could put himself in a situation where it's just like, hey, You could have had a lot better in what you were doing in your life and your path, but you chose to make bad decisions, you know? But you said something that there's always a lot of things I kind of say to myself and I kind of say over and over through the years. And you had mentioned something, how you pretty much was calm within your energy. You didn't let them get your energy out of alignment with who you truly were. You know what I'm saying? Who you knew who you are, and you didn't let their energy bring your energy down, pretty much. And I always say, like, that's a true warrior. You know, I feel like when people think of warriors, they always think of people who are ready to fight, go out and win battles physically. But the true warrior is self-mastery. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if anybody could come up to you and say anything or do anything to you, they automatically got your response to your attention, then that's they win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You let them win. Like if anybody come up to you say anything and all of a sudden you have to do something, then that's something that you need to check. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the true master is always the true warrior is always the person that has self-mastery and within, you know. Going back to my situation, there's times obviously where I do just let things go, like I said before, but my whole standpoint is for the things that I kind of do physically, and not like on the physical level, like fighting, but through action or through words. Sometimes where I might physically respond to it for the sole fact, like, my whole approach is, like I said, I'm big on karma and justice. So sometimes it may be sometimes I feel like it may be a tough lesson that they need to learn that I'm willing to deliver in any type of way. It's always in self-defense or anything. Like, I'm always protecting myself. So I feel like it's justified. So it's either that type of standpoint, but more importantly, it's for me to plant seeds and to kind of teach lessons, you know. And I feel like most of the time I don't do it in a very like a rough in your face, over the top type of way. Like that's just kind of like last resort. It don't really come to that though. You know, I don't really do things to attract those types of people where it's that extreme. But sometimes it almost goes there. It almost goes there. But for the most part, I feel like I do things in a certain way where I make sure, and this is not me like planning this all, like trying to be manipulative in my own right. It's just that it just naturally comes out this way.
Right.
But it comes out in a way where it's right at that sweet spot where they know not to mess with me anymore, but it's not so direct to where it offends their ego. Because I feel like if it offends their ego, they're automatically gonna block out the lesson and just see you in such a negative space, like, oh, I hate this person, like, how could you do this? You know what I'm saying? But I always come with a place like, it's clear that unconditional love is there, but at the same time, it's like, I'm nothing to mess with. So it's like, I give my message in a way where it's like, it's right at that sweet spot. So it's like, at the end of that altercation or experience, they will just leave them thinking like, I know for a fact that sometimes how I kind of respond to things, they haven't experienced something like that before. Because a lot of the times when people resist what they do, it's either one of the extremes. Either it's turn the other cheek and don't say anything, or it's meet fire with fire. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's rare when people kind of meet them at the middle. It's like, hey, I know what you're doing. You're not gonna mess with me, but let me teach you. Like, I don't teach. You know, like how we explained before, mixing the medicine with the food, you know what I'm saying? So I don't sit there and lecture them or anything like that. I just have a certain experience and I know it just leaves them like, I never experienced anything like that before. And it leaves them thinking. Mm-hmm. And what we know, when you go internal, things, that's when wisdom is developed, you know what I'm saying? So my whole idea of kind of sometimes meeting these people where they are in a certain sense is to just plant seeds and instill lessons, you know? I know when it comes to toxic people, energetic vampires, people that could be energy draining, what this whole topic is about, sometimes these people we come across is not so easy to kind of dismiss. You know, it's easy to dismiss a person that we meet randomly on the street somewhere, or a friend of a friend. We could easily make sure we distance ourselves from them. But how would you recommend dealing with someone who is like an energy draining person, but somebody who we can't separate ourselves from? You know, like when it comes to certain family members, or when it comes to, I don't know, if they share the same child together. So if they have a certain closeness of bond that they can't necessarily just break all together, how can you deal with someone who is like that and still protect yourself for your own well-being, but not be drawn and caught up into their world too much with their energy?
Yeah, I see a lot of that too. Again, with parents and their children, like I see it a lot in that arena. But it's, you know, that's a really good question, but it's tough because it's about you recognizing how deeply programmed you are with the connection to that individual, and fighting against, because that's what it feels like. It does feel like you're fighting against a constant pull, because again, this is about you being in somebody else's orbit, somebody else's energy field, and it's constantly at battle with yours. And, you know, there's history, you know, connected with it. There's memories, there's, you know, the foundational impressions that are there that a lot of times aren't that pleasant, you know, that are constantly like dictating how that connection is playing out, you know, in each new moment. And because this is such a big issue for a lot of people, it's really up to each person that finds themselves in a situation like this to take it upon themselves to create a lifestyle, or create some type of schedule to where they at least get some time to themselves, because that's where I see these situations play out in the worst ways, when a person doesn't get any time to themselves, to just be left alone just for a little bit. I see a lot of people that are constantly intertwined with energy draining individuals, and they never get any space. And when you're living a lifestyle like that, you can't even think straight. Just keeping it real, like you can't even think straight, because you're every day is like a new layer added to your overall consciousness and your overall way of living. So even if, let's say, you know, you have a child that's 5 years old, and you don't even get like 1 hour a day, or even 1 hour a week away, you know, away from your child, or not just away from your child, but just in your own space, because, you know, people got to go to work and go to school and do other things. So if you just look at that, that's 5 years of like layering of that's forming over all of the other stuff that you never really got to within your life. Like you never really, you know, address certain issues that you had before this child came in, and, you know, is now adding these layers of years of their genetic energy and their, you know, their orbit into your energy field and into your reality. So it's a lot of people, again, they just get to breaking points, you know, and sometimes to the extreme, and we hear about the situations to where parents end up like severely hurting their children. They end up killing their children. And a lot of this is because they went crazy. Like they really couldn't take it. They may not have understood that their child may have been that dominating energy force. and was constantly pulling them in. It's not always the parent that has the dominating energy when it comes to these genetic makeups. So, you know, I've seen so many combinations of people to where it's like, how have you all not killed each other? How about that? Let's ask that question first, because this, like, how is this maintaining? And it's maintaining off of toxicity. They have literally become addicted to the toxicity. So imagine that with parents and children. You know, like you see, you know, these children being raised in these families to where it's like the ways of thinking, the ways of operating, you know, like it's like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you raising your child like this? Or why is your child acting like this in school? It is because something is going on at home, and it's just the awareness is not there because there's too much entanglement of the energies. So it's, people have to be able to see this at a deeper level and want to bring balance, because the longer people go without acknowledging these real issues, then the harder those layers become to break through as time goes on. So did that answer the question? I don't, did I get away from the question?
No, you definitely did. You definitely did. You know, like, once again, I just see the value and the importance of truly, once again, knowing who you are, knowing thyself. Because I could see now how people could just get lost from all these layers being added onto them, because like they have to break down those layers and then still find themselves.
Yeah.
But if you don't know who you are and you got layers upon layers of just extra stuff added onto you, you so far removed from your inner truth. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely advise everybody to know themselves, to find themselves. And that's a huge reason why I do what I do, just to plant seeds in people, to inspire people, to motivate people in all different types of ways, but to definitely just share ideas that could get them used to their inner world, to get them used to their mind and their consciousness and their infiniteness and who they really are, who they truly are, whether that be me just speaking about it in many different forms, many different ways, or just being who I am and hopefully being some sort of role model or some type of person that can inspire a spark in someone to see more, to think more, to do more, you know? It's sad to see stuff like that, especially when it comes to like the parents kind of just losing all control, losing their mind and taking it out on a baby, something like that, like, or a child, like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So I definitely want to help change the course of that altogether. You know what I'm saying? But so being that you work with human design, so people who are watching this video, and I know that, you know, some people watch this video just for the knowledge, right? And having the knowledge and the wisdom, and that's beautiful. But then there's some people who are actually watching this video because they came here for a specific reason. Like, they're dealing with a situation that they want to protect themselves, or that they want to, protect themselves for their own right, or protect themselves from someone in particular that they're dealing with, and they're coming here for solutions. So being that, what do you do? How can you, with the human design, help someone understand their journey in protecting their energy and protecting themselves from certain toxic people? Like, how could the human design get in a reading? How could that help them in their journey and their understanding of it all?
Okay. Well, there have been a lot of people who have reached out to me for, you know, what you just said, as far as just trying to protect themselves from toxic situations, or they may have recently gotten out of a toxic situation and now they're trying to like repair themselves. What I do personally is I look at the genetic needs of each individual, because with everyone being different and having a different solution to their issues, it's important that that's acknowledged. So when a person comes to me, I ask them, you know, some foundational questions in regards to their lifestyle. I asked them, you know, how many people do you live with? You know, like, how many children do you have? Are you in a relationship? Because there are some people that come to me and they're like, they're coming to me in secret. You know, they can't even tell like their husband or wife that they're trying to, you know, be on a spiritual journey, but still participate in this toxic lifestyle that they're in. So I look at things like that, and I'm realistic with people and saying that, okay, well, it's going to be harder for someone who is doing this on the side, you know, trying to empower themselves on the side, you know, to actually make a lot of progress, because when you're constantly in a tug of war with your own life, you're essentially like wearing and tearing on your energy field and on your consciousness, because you're living multiple lives, basically. You know, you're trying to be very spiritual and centered, you know, on this end, but then your life is completely toxic and crazy on this other side, which is really the side that's going to win at the end of the day, because you have to, you have people dependent on you, your children, and, you know, your significant other. So for those who, let's say they are like by themselves and they are in a place to where they're not obligated to another person. They don't have to just tell another individual like, hey, I'm going to do this, or, you know, they don't have to answer to anyone. Those people, majority of the times, are in better positions to actually take this information and learn about their design and actually move forward into it and see progress at a faster rate than somebody who's just like dibbling and dabbling in their design and saying, oh, you know, this is true, or, oh, you know, that's cool, or I experienced that. But, you know, they spend 90% of their time doing the opposite of what their genetic needs are. So the consultations that I have with people are first and foremost, because I like to tell people that I can't help them. Like, I like to, you know, let people know what I'm not capable of doing, and let them know that I don't want you to have any idea that you're getting a promise of, you know, expansion or a promise of, you know, your life is going to change drastically for the better, because I can't make that happen for you. I'm just here to translate and give you the information and give you the steps that I see based on your genetic needs that will give you better results and that don't require you to be dependent on another person. So the human design is always helpful, but again, if a person is not really about that life yet, then I tell people, don't waste your time, don't waste your energy. You know, you may need a few more years of that toxic lifestyle before it really settles in that, okay, I'm done with this. I really get into myself.
When we know our own strengths and weaknesses, we know other people's strengths and weaknesses. And it's like the way how in this video, perfect example, the way how you break certain things down, it just allows you to see it in new ways. So for instance, talking about the people getting caught up in their energy and you know, kind of having that being related to like two planets coming together and being caught up in the orbit, it's like seeing that from a different dimensional level. It expands your mind. You're opening your third eye with that. So this knowledge, it opens you up to see things in a new perspective. And when you see things in a new perspectives, it gives you so much clarity. So where it's like, now I know how to not get caught up in these people's energies and not to be influenced by these negative energies, whether if I have to be around them or not. You know, there's a lot of times where I always say, like, when it comes to distancing yourself from certain people or distancing yourself from certain things like mainstream media and the negative influence and certain aspects of like the music industry, and just hearing certain mantras being repeated to you over and over again, that's toxic in general, you know? And I always feel like for the people who are starting their journey, to definitely limit and distance themselves from that, because the influence could still be subliminal, where it's like they don't necessarily be aware of the influence that it has on it and how they're reflecting it. But I do feel like when you reach a certain point within yourself and within your journey, you could step back into that and be amongst all of that and not be influenced. You know, I feel like I reached a point in myself, in my journey, where, you know, I could, if I wanted to, I don't want to do this, but if I wanted to, like, watch reality shows all day, I wouldn't be influenced by that, because I'm aware of everything. Like, as it's happening, I'm putting it out. Like, I could feel the energy, I could read the energy. So my conscious mind sees, there's nothing deceptive. There's nothing. I see everything. So it's like, I'm not going to allow that to penetrate my energy and my consciousness and my subconscious mind. It's already lit. Like, there's nothing in the dark. Everything is well lit and I'm seeing everything. But until we get to that certain point, there might be certain things that's still in the dark that we might not be aware of. And that the things in the dark could come slip in through the back door, the subconscious mind, and we might start to reflect it and not just be aware. But I feel like on our journey to see everything brightly lit, to protect yourself like completely on all levels, is to know thyself. So if you're watching this video, I would definitely advise you to go to FREEYOURMINDDESIGN.com. I have the links attached in this video in the description box. And she also was mentioning a few things, like the story that you was telling just briefly now about the car accident that you got into. I'm gonna link that as well with that video, because she explained it all, and it is like a movie, so it's very, very intense, and I feel like there's always knowledge and information to just learn from all of that. But we about to close up this video, this section right now. This is amazing knowledge and wisdom that has been exchanged, and I hope that everyone was able to learn something that they could apply in their life to make sure that they protect themselves from negative people, toxic people, energy vampires, or just from themselves and not being their own toxic person. You know what I'm saying? To get to know truly who they are themselves and where they want to be in their lives. And all it takes is a simple decision, you know? Like you said, right now might not be your time, but just really be aware if you really are ready to make that change in your life, because when you start this journey wholeheartedly, things can change fast for the better. And it's always worth it. Whatever struggle or whatever obstacle or block you might face that's stopping you from being 100% in this, that's the hardest part. But once you're on your journey, things still may get hard, but it's this instant clarity, it's this instant inner feeling, this inner knowing that allows you to stay strong on your path. So it's nothing like, it's not even comparable to not being on the path and having those type of obstacles, because you're kind of like lost in those obstacles. And it's like, it's crazy because we don't even know it until we get off that path. And we could see how, even though we still might have challenges, it's not as dense, it's not as heavy, it's still challenging, but it's not energy draining, you know? It's like a challenge, but it's a worthy challenge. It's something that kind of still like inspires us, because we know what's ahead in our journey. We feel, or we have felt, pieces and caught a glimpse of the infiniteness of what this means, of knowing who we are. And that kind of drives us and fuels us forward. But until we have these experiences from being dedicated to just giving all of our attention and energy onto this side of it, we don't know. So if you don't know, then I advise you to just check it out. You know what I'm saying? But you got to be 100% in it. You got to be 100%. So is there anything else that you want to say before we close off?
No, I really enjoyed this conversation, and it's definitely needed at this time. And I feel that it will definitely bring clarity to people and give people a different perspective on how to look at the situations that they've dealt with or that they are dealing with in their lives, and also be prepared and aware of situations that could potentially turn into energy draining, vampiric situations. So overall, I definitely think we both shared information that can just help with the self-empowerment process for people. So thank you for having me.
Most definitely. Once again, I advise everybody here to go visit Asiya's Free Your Mind to Shine YouTube channel, where she have just a wealth of abundance of information that can help you. She personally helped me in my life, and I wouldn't recommend people if I didn't mean it. You know what I'm saying? She genuinely helped me a lot in my life, especially in one of the most challenging parts of my life. So she definitely, I see her as an expert in what she do. She's very wise at what she do. So I definitely advise you to check her out and the website. So stay attuned and protect your energy. Peace.
So don't forget to check out Asiya's Free Your Mind to Shine YouTube channel and website, but especially check out the YouTube channel because we will be releasing more collab videos on her platform as well that will not be on the Realest Idealist channel. So make sure you subscribe to both so you can always be informed to protect yourself in many ways on your journey. Peace.